What's up, y'all? Colin Still, your local real estate agent here in DFW. And today I wanted to kind of talk about some of the feedback I've been getting from my clients, especially my buyers. I was on the phone with a client recently the other day, and they said they think the housing market is going to crash, which I feel like a lot of people for the last like 6 to 12 months have been doing like the whole clickbait fear mongering housing market crash thing. And again, not financial advice, not legal advice, but I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents on why I don't think that's going to happen. Could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially not right now. And there's quite a few reasons why. And then I kind of wanted to just kind of do a temperature check of what I'm seeing, boots on the ground here in the DFW market, as well as kind of like news and where the market's going to go and kind of like all the feedback we've been getting. So, to start off with the housing market crash, to kind of, confront that, it's highly unlikely. I studied the '08 housing market crash a lot. I was always very fascinated of why it happened and how it happened, and I wanted to be able to, position myself in a great place if it happened again. And so after just years of research and documentaries and YouTube videos and market analysis and economic theory and stuff like that, I don't foresee a housing market crash right now in this market or potentially anytime soon. And there's a few reasons. Reason number one is going to be in '08, the way the government '08 '09 they bailed us out was money printing, right? So government, big daddy government printed a bunch of money and bailed out the banks. Okay. So that was honestly the first QE, the first quantitative easing. During COVID, we had QE1, QE2, QE3, all of these quantitative, which is just money printing, right? And so honestly, the first time we really did that was back in, 2007, 2008 housing market crash. And so if for some reason that scenario popped up again, there's no reason why I wouldn't believe that the government wouldn't just do the same thing, right? Wouldn't just print our way out of that to save us from that crash. So I don't know about you, but I think once the money printers started going burr, I just don't see them stopping them. I think that's going to be something that our government and the feds will constantly fall back on when they need to, right? But and now both sides politically, regardless of how you fall politically, both sides of the aisle are going to print money. It just seems to be the case. So I don't think that makes me more concerned about inflation and skyrocketing prices, not a crash. Reason number two is we just really don't have the inventory. Even now, when things are kind of slowing down, we're getting lots of not great news. The market has held pretty steady. We've seen more of a correction rather than a crash. I am happy to see a correction. I did a review the other day on a house that was reduced 35K. I had some other buyers in Dallas that were looking at a house that was initially listed at 680, and that house got reduced $60,000. So we are seeing reductions in prices. We are seeing homes kind of sit a little longer, but they are still eventually selling. Most of the time, what's happening is either someone who doesn't have the option and they're not positioned in a good place and they need it to sell for enough money, they're just reducing until they get it sold. And then other people, if you are blessed and more likely to not have to sell, those people are typically, if they're not getting what they want or if they're not happy with what the market's willing to give them, what buyers are willing to pay, they're taking the house back off the market. So that's what I'm seeing in the market. I'm not seeing signs of necessarily a crash. So, not to burst my clients' bubbles who I think are kind of waiting on this crash. I think you're going to wait yourself into a worse situation where the deals aren't going to be there. I think if you wait 6 to 18 months, I think you're going to be buying in a worst market where you're going to have less leverage. Right now, although I wouldn't necessarily call this a strong buyer's market, if you look at the situations I'm seeing analytically for sure, the buyers have more leverage right now. Sellers are the most reasonable they've been in years. And to boot, they're reducing prices and homes are not selling that quick. So if you have buying power and you're interested in purchasing a home, I personally, especially in the DFW market, think you have the tactical advantage. And I think that's a great place to be because you can definitely get those deals. I think if you wait, listen, the deals are always when things feel unsure, when the market feels scary, when there's blood in the streets, right? That's for the most part what we're feeling right now, right? There's these tariff wars and negotiations with China, and people are unsure about things, right? That's typically the time to buy. You don't want to buy 6 to 18 months from now when rates have come down, when the market's booming, when buyer demand is back up, right? You're not going to get those deals. You're not going to get tens of thousands of dollars off the sales price. You're just not going to. So I personally think the deals are kind of rolling out right now and they're there to be made. And so if you can stomach some of these uncertainties and some of these fears, now is the time you can get those really good deals. In my personal opinion, I don't see some massive crash. I think we have been getting a reasonable, healthy correction. And what I'm seeing right now are deals come through the table. So let's talk about the market and, kind of hone in on my personal thoughts on what's going on with the market, and then I'll let you go. So, we got a big bump recently. Trump mentioned the China deal, right? Like, oh, negotiation with China, we're working on a deal. And then China came back and was like, no, we're not. There aren't any negotiations going on right now. And, kind of did a low blow back to Trump, right? But even with that, just even if he's not being honest, right? Even if he's just lying, he obviously really wants a deal. And the markets responded really well, right? I mean, they blipped up pretty good, both the stock market, the crypto market. I mean, everything kind of blipped up pretty well. I mean, Bitcoin's at 93,000 and holding steady. So, these things are, if we've been, which we've both like for the most part just been getting a bunch of bad news for the most part, not great news, right? And the market like seems to still be pretty strong and holding there. So it feels like we've been kind of bouncing on the bottom of the floor and we've potentially maybe found the floor, right? And so could we downtrend more? Sure. Do I think there's going to be a crash? No. And the market is clearly so primed for a positive uptick and a positive surge. I mean, just Trump mentioning a potential deal with China and the market surged a bit. So it seems like it's seriously primed to go to good places and it wants to go there. And so I think as these negotiations, because obviously, I mean, I think Trump is sitting down with Norway today to work out a trade deal. There are countries clearly coming to the table that are going to be making deals so that these tariffs do not go into effect. We've got the 90-day pause on the bulk of all the tariffs. And so most likely a lot of these tariffs are not going to go into effect. And we're going to instead have countries sit down and make a deal that hopefully works good for both sides of the party. And I really hope the same thing happens with China. I do think right now what you're seeing with China are two parties trying to present themselves as the strong side, right? I mean, Trump's clearly trying to do it. China is obviously trying to do it. And eventually, I think both sides are going to have to come to the table because these tariffs do not work for either party. They're unrealistic, right? Here in America, we would a lot of manufacturers would run out of the inventory that's imported that China exports over to us, and China would be significantly hurt because a massive amount of their economy is based on exporting goods to us. We are the consumer in this relationship. So as far as tariffs go, they're most likely going to hurt a little harder to China than they will us. I mean, the way tariffs work are you tax the country who's exporting those goods to yours, right? So if we're tariffing the goods that China's sending to us and they're tariffing the goods that we're sending to them, how much do we export to China in comparison to how much China exports to us? Not a whole lot. And so, I mean, even if we go tit for tat, tariff war wise, China's going to hurt more. Could China stomach it? Sure, they may be. Would they be willing to just make their people suffer a already not great economy and make it much worse by not being able to export a massive staple of goods that their economy has been literally designed around to satiate the demands of the consumer that we offer them. I mean, we are literally a consumer economy. That is one of our biggest values to all of these other countries. They want to be able to sell in the US market. So personally, my hopes are is there will be a deal made, and I think someone is going to have to be the bigger person here. You know, our administration in our country may have to go, okay, listen, fine, we'll guarantee a pause on these tariff threats, but you have to come sit down and start discussions about a deal, right? We will be the bigger person, China, and we will guarantee a pause on the tariff threats that we've been making. But the condition is you have to sit down and start having a conversation about making a deal. And I don't see why China wouldn't do that. And again, if and when this happens, you're going to see a massive uptick in the market, man. So the market is clearly primed for a lot of growth, a lot of uptick. And it does seem like we have trended towards the floor, and we may very well be kind of bouncing on the floor at this point. So even with all, even with more bad news, it might not just be significant. Could we downtrend more? Yeah, absolutely. We could downtrend more. You know, now if these tariffs do go in effect, like these insane tariffs with China and us, the 125% towards us and the 145 towards them, or whatever they are now, yeah, that could be really bad. That could bring that could blow the floor out, and we could go down a lot more. I just don't see that happening, and I hope you know, reasonable heads prevail here. And I think that seems to have been the case so far with other countries. You know, countries are coming to the table and deals are being made. I don't see why that is not going to be the case with China too. It doesn't make sense, not for China, not for us. Someone may have to be the bigger person, and it is looking like we're going to need Trump to be the bigger person, which is that is potentially maybe asking a lot. But I do think Trump is a business guy, and he wants to be able to make a deal to be able to bring good news to the American people. And I think those deals are around the corner. And again, I think we're going to get more uptrending because as these deals come through, you know, with Norway and whoever else is being sat down with as these deals are made, I think Trump is going to be happy to go show those deals off to the American people and brag about them. And you're going to see more of an uptick in the market because of that. So, personally speaking, if you're looking to buy in the real estate market, you may miss out on some really good deals that can be made because right now is the uncertainty. Right now, people are nervous, tariffs, China, blah, 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 right? There's a bit of blood in the streets, right? So the deals are definitely there and sellers are very reasonable. If you wait 6 to 18 months, my personal opinion is you're not going to have the deals and the leverage and the negotiating power that you have right now when things feel very uncertain. Because I just think it's a matter of time before the dust settles and all of this starts to stabilize out. And when that does, you're probably going to see an uptick in the market. I don't see any crash coming. I just think we have too many levers and too many metrics and too many the feds, the government, they just have too much at their disposal to combat that. And the concern is not deflation, it's probably inflation. It's probably prices going up even more. So that's my 2 cents on the matter. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Feel free to DM me if you're on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions or are in the local DFW real estate market, if you are interested in selling or buying property, I would be happy to help you and make sure you're taken care of. And until next time, peace.